Before we begin our journey, a small note. The information we share today comes from many public sources like books, interviews, and articles. We have tried our best to make sure everything is accurate. However, the lives of great people are complex and stories can change over time. Also, the images you see are for illustration. They help us picture the people and places we are talking about. They are meant to add to the story, not to be exact historical records. Now let us step into the world of two remarkable individuals who changed how we play forever. Their names are Shigeru Miyamoto and Genyo Takeda. Our story begins not in a land of mushrooms or with a hero in green, but in the beautiful country of Japan. Shigeru Miyamoto was born in a small town near Kyoto. As a young boy, he did not have video games. Instead, he had the great outdoors. He loved to explore the fields, forests, and caves near his home. These childhood adventures filled his mind with wonder and ideas. He would draw pictures of the landscapes he saw and imagine stories about them. This love for exploration and creativity would become the very foundation of his life's work, shaping worlds that millions would one day explore themselves. Meanwhile, another future legend, Genyo Takeda, was growing up with a different kind of curiosity. He was born in Osaka, Japan. From a young age, Takeda was fascinated by how things worked. He was the kind of boy who would take apart a clock just to see the gears inside. He loved tinkering with electronics and machinery. This passion led him to study engineering in college. He wanted to understand the science behind technology. His mind was not filled with fantasy worlds but with circuits, wires, and the logic of machines. This practical skill would be just as important to our story. Both men found their way to the same company, Nintendo. In the 1970s, Nintendo was not the video game giant we know today. It was a company that made playing cards and toys. Miyamoto, with his degree in industrial design, was hired as an artist. Takeda, the engineer, was hired to create electronic games for arcades. They did not know it at the time, but their paths were destined to cross. They're two different kinds of genius, one of storytelling and art, the other of technology and hardware, were about to come together. This combination would launch Nintendo into a new universe of entertainment. Shigeru Miyamoto's big chance came when Nintendo had an arcade game that was not selling well. The president of Nintendo asked Miyamoto if he could create a new game using the unsold cabinets. Miyamoto had never designed a game before, but he was full of ideas. He remembered the stories he loved as a child, like Popeye. He created a character, a carpenter who had to save his girlfriend from a giant ape. That ape was named Donkey Kong, and the hero was first called Jumpman. This simple game was a huge success. Jumpman would later become one of the most famous characters in the world, Mario. After the success of Donkey Kong, Miyamoto was asked to create more games. He thought back to his childhood explorations in the forests and caves. He wanted to give players that same feeling of discovery and adventure. This idea led to the Legend of Zelda. He designed a huge world called Hyrule for players to explore. There was no clear path. Players had to find their own way, solve puzzles, and uncover secrets just like he did as a boy. The hero, Link, was a symbol of the player's own courage. The game was a revolution, creating a whole new genre of action-adventure games for everyone to enjoy. Miyamoto's design philosophy was simple but powerful. Games should be fun to play. He focused on the feeling of control. When you press a button to make Mario jump, it should feel just right. This is what he called interactive. It was not just about watching a story, it was about being part of it. He and his team would spend months perfecting how a character moved, or how an enemy behaved. This attention to detail made his games intuitive and joyful. He believed that if the basic actions were fun, the entire game would be a wonderful experience for the player. His influence went beyond just one or two games. Miyamoto helped create many other beloved Nintendo series like Star Fox and Pikmin. He also guided the creation of new ways to play, like the motion controls of the Nintendo Wii. He believed that everyone should be able to play games, not just experts. He wanted families to gather around the television and have fun together. His vision was to create entertainment that brought smiles to people's faces. Through his work, Shigeru Miyamoto became a master storyteller, inviting millions of us into the magical worlds he imagined. While Miyamoto was dreaming up new worlds, Genyo Takeda was building the machines that would bring those worlds to life. He was Nintendo's first video game hardware designer. In the early days, he created some of Nintendo's first arcade hits, like the boxing game Punch-Out!, but his true genius was in creating the technology inside the consoles. He understood that a great game needed great hardware to run on. He was the brilliant mind working behind the scenes, making sure the magic could happen without any problems. His work was the invisible foundation of Nintendo's success. One of Takeda's most important contributions was for the Nintendo 64 console. He was the lead designer of the console's hardware. This was a huge challenge. He and his team developed the first analog stick for a mainstream console controller. This small joystick allowed players to move characters like Mario with incredible precision in a three-dimensional world. It changed everything. Before this, movement in games was often stiff and limited. Takeda's analog stick made movement feel natural and fluid. It was a technological leap that made games like Super Mario 64 possible, and became a standard for all future game controllers. Takeda was also a master of efficiency. He knew that for handheld consoles like the Game Boy, battery life was everything. What good is a portable game if the battery dies too quickly? For the game, The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening on the Game Boy, Takeda helped develop a special memory chip. This chip allowed players to save their progress without needing a constant supply of power from a battery inside the cartridge. This was a clever solution that saved money and made the games more reliable. It showed his ability to solve complex problems with smart, simple engineering. Later in his career, Takeda was a key leader in the creation of the Nintendo Wii. While others in the industry were focused on making more powerful graphics, Takeda and his team focused on creating a new experience. They developed the Wii's unique motion-sensing controllers. This was a risky idea, but Takeda's team made it work. The Wii became a global phenomenon, attracting people who had never played video games before. Genyo Takeda's focus on innovative hardware and practical solutions ensured that Nintendo's consoles were not just powerful, but also fun and accessible to everyone. The story of Nintendo's greatest successes is not just the story of two men working alone, it is the story of their powerful collaboration. Miyamoto would come up with a brilliant, creative idea for a game. He would imagine a new way for players to interact with a world. Then, he would go to Takeda. Takeda and his engineering team would figure out how to build the technology to make Miyamoto's vision a reality. They were like two sides of the same coin. One could not succeed without the other. Their teamwork was the engine that powered Nintendo's innovation for decades. This partnership was built on deep respect. Miyamoto respected Takeda's technical brilliance and his ability to solve impossible problems. Takeda respected Miyamoto's creative genius and his uncanny understanding of what makes a game fun. They challenged each other to do better. Miyamoto might ask for something that seemed impossible, like a controller that could sense motion. Takeda would then work tirelessly to invent it. This dynamic pushed Nintendo to always think differently from its competitors. They were not just making products, they were creating new forms of entertainment together. Their combined influence has shaped the entire video game industry. Miyamoto's focus on gameplay and storytelling raised the bar for all game designers. Takeda's work on hardware, from the analog stick to motion controls, became standards that other companies followed. Together, they proved that success comes from a balance of creative art and smart engineering. They showed that the goal should not just be better graphics, but better and more joyful experiences for the player. Their legacy is in every game that focuses on the simple pleasure of play. Today, Shigeru Miyamoto and Genyo Takeda are legends. They have inspired countless game designers, artists, and engineers around the world to pursue their own creative ideas. Their story teaches us a valuable lesson. It shows us that great things can happen when people with different talents work together towards a common goal. They started as a young artist and a young engineer at a small toy company. Through their passion, hard work, and incredible teamwork, they built worlds and created joy for millions. And that is a legacy that will continue to inspire for generations to come.